How does that sound?
That was that sounded cool. I'd go see me.
So, Amie, I have to tell you, your music really touched my heart, and I am so glad you decided to join us today. So, thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, according to your bio, you've been writing music for decades. Can you share if there has been any artists who have inspired your music or style?
When I think about that question, I don't think there's really one artist or artists themselves that really inspire me, but it was always the song, whether it was from Carole King, James Taylor, Bob Dylan, the Rolling Stones. It's the story. It's the way they weave their lyrics together and the way the emotional connection I got when they sang their songs.
Oh, I totally get that. That's really neat. It is my understanding that you have not been able to perform in person for a while, but can you share any places or events that you have performed at over the years?
Yeah, I'm not really a performer in many ways. I really love just sharing my music, but through a lot of encouragement from friends and family, I've had lots of wonderful opportunities. I think like my first stage performance ever was in Chicago back in the 70s at the Three Penny Coffee House. I don't know if it still exists, but it's just what you think it would be. Or a few other open stages in the Chicago uptown area. I also lived in Austin, Texas for a while, and I got to play a few gigs around there. My favorite was the International Women's Music Festival. That was back in the 80s. I'm kind of dating myself here. I've had the opportunity to play open mics at the National Women's Music Festival in 2019. That was an amazing experience. Such a great, I'll always remember it. It's filled with memories. And I've had the pleasure to open for several great artists, such as Open Wide, Jamie Harris, Eddie Sines, Cats and the Coyote, and I even got to do my own live show at the Prelude in Harlingen. I'm mostly comfortable just sharing my music with friends around the coffee table or a backyard barbecue.
Wow, that is so neat. So real, too. It's humbleness of your music that really touches me.
Thank you.
And
well, I consider myself more of a songwriter than a performer.
Right.
I want to tell you a story, and I want my lyrics to be attached to an emotion. You know, how much do I love you? How lonely do I feel? Angry or confused? It's always the experience I want to write about.
Absolutely. Like I said, when I listened to your music the first time, some of those songs just really touched my heart. Like I mentioned earlier, your music really touched me, and I believe it will also touch many of our artists and our listeners. Can you explain what inspires your music? I know you just touched on quite a bit of that.
Well, it's kind of a combination. It's the combination of A, writing the lyrics, telling the story. And then the second part of that is my involvement as a musician. And, you know, I love listening to the chords that you can find in R&B music or the Delta blues or the old Torch songs. And I love that driving beat from the 60s rock and roll. And I wanted to say that for me, it all started listening to my older brother, Wayne, when he was playing his guitar. Now, this is back in the days when girls didn't really play guitar. They were kind of discouraged. You know, that was a guy's instrument, and girls should play the piano. Mm-hmm. But my brother always encouraged me to listen to my heart, and my heart wanted to play the guitar. So I was probably about 8 or 9 years old when I started learning those chords on his guitar. And wouldn't be till I was about 13 that I finally get my very own guitar after saving up the money.
Wow.
So it's really a combination of finding that sound that matches your lyrics and also even matches your voice. And I think my voice is much better suited to the blues than the ballads over, you know, a pop song.
Yeah, that's some really good, really good advice there. In fact, I was getting ready to ask, as an experienced artist, do you have any suggestions for newer artists starting their career? Um, you just touched on a lot of that, and I think what one of the things you kind of brought up, which I feel is starting to really make a make a notice in the industry, is a lot of nostalgia is coming back. A lot of artists are picking up on, like you mentioned, previous artists' beats or inspirations.
Yeah, I think when I'm talking to a new artist and someone who wants to do this, write songs or perform, one of the first thing I really tell them, watch your pronunciation. It's so easy to drop off the last part of a word, and you can lose your audience in doing that. So it's really important to pronunciate your lyrics. Don't make us guess at what we're trying to hear. I think another thing that I like to share with new people is keep it simple. Keep it simple. Overproducing a song with so many instruments drowns out a solo voice. And you're trying to reach them. But the best tip I love to tell people is know your audience. If they're there to party and to dance, pick up your beat and make that song the hook of your song. That's what matters. But if they're there to listen to you, maybe that coffee house setting, I try to choose a song strong enough to get their attention, because once I have it, I can play the softest song, and there's not a clatter or any sound in the coffee house, because they're listening. And I'm not just background music anymore. That's when I know it's golden.
That is awesome. That is some really excellent advice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that. So, Amie, we talked a little bit about what you have done in the past. Do you have any plans for the future?
Oh, the future is always exciting. But for me, what I would love is if someone hears this song or one of these songs and they want to cover that song, they want to take it into the studio and make it theirs and record it and start playing it out. As a songwriter, that's the ultimate dream. That's the ultimate success, is to have someone pick up your song and make it theirs. That would be my future. That's what I would love.
Wow, that is so amazing. So just to clarify this, as a songwriter, actually hoping to find some singers and possible labels to take your music to the next level.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
Wow. Oh, listeners, artists, don't miss out on this opportunity. This does not come often. Even though I've only been in this industry for a short time, people are very protective of their music. So if you listen to her music today and you like it and you're an artist, get a hold of Amie and see maybe you folks could make something special happen in the future.
That's it. Share the music. There is somebody out there for those songs, and they can take it farther to a farther audience. The song I have called "Got My Wings Today."
That is such
I would love for somebody to cover that professionally and put it out there.
That is such a beautiful song. That was actually the first song that I listened of yours, and it brought some tears to my eyes. It was very, very, very beautiful.
Thank you. So many people would love to have that song as part of their final arrangement.
Oh, wow.
And
yeah, it is very touching. It's very deep.
Yeah, it says what we need to say. Yes. Love is forever.
Amen.
So that's why the music, and that's why the lyrics, and putting it together, and that's why I publish my music, because not that I want to be the one on tour, I just want someone to hear it. Someone on Facebook, someone on the radio, somebody in a coffee house. If you like it, and it's your song, Go for it.
Ironically, I was interviewing Whitney Waz the other day, and she brought up a very similar point, and our listeners will be able to hear that here in a little while with probably the next show. She even asked, if you write a song but you don't share it, are you being artistic?
Yeah.
So the fact that you brought up exactly the same point, don't be afraid to step out and share. Let your light shine.
Yeah.
That gives permission for other people to shine. And,
exactly.
And if you fail, but you tried and you learned. So.
And I honestly don't think we can fail. It's just not that person, or it's not yet. You can't fail with art. You can't fail with being authentic. You can't fail saying your truth.
Exactly. I've discovered, in such a short period of time, I have always appreciated music, but getting to know the artists, getting to know why they wrote their music, and able to share that, and listening, because we program different genres, and some are not always my favorite, but I've learned to appreciate them, and so it may not be my taste, but it's still I can still appreciate that music, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to share that with other people, and which is why we do shows like this for our guest artists.
And it's important to be exposed to those different artists, because it expands our own. When the music is emotional, it reaches into our mind and our hearts. And being exposed to the different beats, the different rhythms, the different styles, it expands you.
Absolutely.
Now I'm ready to pick up my guitar and start playing again.
Awesome. I'm going to keep that part. So, Amie, what do you think? I believe it's time to share some of your music to our listeners.
I say turn it up, turn it loud.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you, Amie, for joining us today, and I look forward to hearing back from you, our listeners, and to follow up with you. For those who may be interested in finding Amie Bluestone, you can find her on Reverb Nation, and you can also find her on our station's website at wvblradio.com. Okay, WVBL Radio listeners, here it is. Music by the one and only Amie Bluestone. One voice, one guitar.